Bonjour, we're going to do a quick lesson today on direct object pronouns in French. Um, first of all, let's talk about what they are. Direct object pronouns are used to replace direct object nouns in a French sentence. So you might be asking, what is a direct object? The direct object is basically the noun that receives the action of the verb. So let's look at what this means. In my English examples here, I have I ate the chocolate cake. He watched the movie. She kicked the ball. Do you know what the direct objects are in those sentences? Think about that for a second. So to find the direct object, you ask the question, what got verbed? I got that question from a great language arts teacher that I observed as a young teacher. She always asks her students what got verbed. So in this sentence here, what got eaten, what got watched, what got kicked. So as you can probably tell, the direct objects in my sentences are the chocolate cake, the movie, and the ball. So why do we need direct object pronouns? Basically, direct object pronouns allow us to avoid repeating ourselves. So, for example, she kicked the ball so high, the ball went over the fence. We might even combine this into one sentence. She kicked the ball so high, it went over the fence. So the it refers back to the ball in the first part of my sentence. They love coffee. They drink coffee every morning. You might not want to say coffee twice. So they love coffee. They drink it every morning. So that's an example of how we use these in English. So let's talk about what direct object pronouns we use in French. We have me, which of course is going to be me. Tu, which is going to replace toi, and it refers to you. Le is interesting in that it can refer to him or it, so you'll know from the context whether we're talking about a person or a thing. La is the same way, can refer to her or it. And note here that le and la can change to L' before a verb begins with a vowel sound. We have nous, which means us, which you're used to seeing nous as we as well, so there's no big shock there. Vous, as well, very familiar. You know that's you or you all. And then les is going to replace them. So let's start with some example sentences with le, la, l'apostrophe, and les. Mon grand-père adore lire le journal. Il le lit tous les jours. Ma grand-mère, excusez-moi, ma grand-mère n'aime pas le lire. So, I'm telling you, my grandfather loves to read fiction verbs. He reads it, this le here is the text that you pronounce. He reads it every day. My grandmother doesn't like to read it. So what I want to point out here is these direct object pronouns are going to go with the verb they're connected to. So reading, is what goes with newspapers. So it's going to stick there. So if I want to say she doesn't like to read it, I'm going to put the le that refers to journal next to lire. And we kind of do that in English. So I think that hopefully makes sense. Tu adores les frites. Tu les manges avec du ketchup et du sel. So you love French fries. You eat them with ketchup and salt. Mon fils adore ce film. Il le regarde souvent. So, my son loves this movie. He watches it often. So you'll notice the placement of these pronouns. We put it in front of the verb that they refer to. So, you've seen that in several examples. Tu aimes la glace? Oui, je l'adore. Je la mange tous les jours. So notice here what happens. La glace, when the la encounters this adore that starts with a vowel, we're going to change it to L'. So yes, I love it. I eat it every day. Okay, now let's think about if people are direct objects in our sentences. So think about what we might use to replace each of these people or groups of people in a sentence. So if we were talking about Paul, we want it to be him, right? So think about what we could use to change Paul into him. If you guessed le, you've got it. Okay, so Daniel et toi. So Daniel and you. That's going to be the same as you all. So we want to use vous. What about moi? Which one did we use with moi? If you guessed me, you've got it. Sophie et Caroline. I have two people here. Sophie and Caroline. I want to say them. Remember that is going to be les. Mes parents et moi. My parents and I, or me. So whenever you're including yourself plus another group of people, you know that's going to be like nous, us, or we, but in this case, us. So look at this. I've got some paparazzi here. All right, and they are looking at me. They are looking at you. They're looking at us. They're looking at you all. They're looking at her and him and them. So notice that the word order is slightly different than it would be in English. As I said, these pronouns have to go right in front of the verb that they refer to. But as far as sort of figuring out the me and you and us, I feel like these are not quite as tricky as the other examples that we've looked at earlier because we're sort of used to a lot of these. Some of these, for example, nous and vous, we also use the same pronoun as a subject pronoun. Here's an example that is quite used quite a bit in French. Je t'aime. So if you want to know how to tell someone I love you in French, many people are studying French because it's a romantic sounding language. Je t'aime. So let's rewrite some sentences using these direct object pronouns. Let's put them into practice. So, vous prenez le bus. You all take the bus. Let's say you all take it. Think about what you would replace le bus with in the sentence and where it would go. Vous le prenez. So remember, it has to go in front of the verb, and we're going to replace it with le. J'écoute la musique. I'm listening to music. Tell me, I'm listening to it. So, je l'écoute. So remember here, my verb starts with a vowel. We want it to go in front of the verb, so we change la to l'apostrophe. Ils écrivent des cartes postales. They write postcards. So we've got plural here. Des cartes postales. They write them. You want to say ils les écrivent. Now here this starts with a vowel, but what you need to know is here when we have les, this ends in a consonant. So we are allowed to put this next to the vowel sound. So there's no change made to les before a vowel. All right, let's look at how we might use these to answer questions. Now, you know that a lot of times in casual conversation, when you answer a question, you answer with a yes, no, and you don't answer in a complete sentence. But this is French class, so we like to answer in complete sentences. So, qu'est-ce que tu étudies? What are you studying? Might ask you some follow-up questions to that. Tu étudies l'espagnol? Do you study Spanish? Oui, je l'étudie. Yes, I'm studying it. This L apostrophe referring back to espagnol. Non, je ne l'étudie pas. So notice that the pronoun has to stick with the verb and the ne pas goes right around them. Okay? Tu étudies les maths. Remember math is always plural. So je les étudie. I study them. Although in English we would say I study it. Math. Non, je ne les étudie pas. Qu'est-ce que vous mangez? Might ask you about your eating habits. Vous mangez des légumes? Do you eat vegetables? Oui, nous les mangeons. Or non, nous ne les mangeons pas. Vous mangez de la viande? Oui, nous la mangeons. Or non, nous ne la mangeons pas. So another thing you might have noticed is here when I had a question with tu in it, my answer had je, what are you studying? Do you study Spanish? Yes, I study it. And then I changed my verb to match je. Same thing's happening here with my question with vous. I'm answering it and using the new form of the verb, and then I'm sticking my pronoun in there. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to make a follow-up video with a few more practice